I'd like to call to order the New York City Transit Committee meeting. Let's get started with our safety announcements.
Hi, thank you for joining our meeting at 130 Livingston Street in Brooklyn, New York, on the ground floor. If an alarm sounds, wait for a public address announcement and follow any audible instructions. If you need assistance during an evacuation, please tell an MTA staff member. If you're instructed to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use the exit in the main lobby. In the event of a building evacuation, we will exit the front of the building and muster at the corner of Livingston Street and Court Street. This is landmarked by the Investor Bank. If you have a mobility disability or cannot self-evacuate, please ask for assistance by MTA staff or emergency personnel to proceed to the fire warden station down the hallway next to stairwell D, where there is an evacuation chair. Fire extinguishers are located at stairwell D, just down the hall next to the fire warden station. An automated external defibrillator, AED, for use by trained personnel is located in a glass case marked Life Pack down the hallway next to stairwell D. Thank you for joining us and have a safe day.
Thank you. Let's move to our public speakers, please.
Sure. Good morning. We have 20 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum, including speaking on topic. I would also like to remind our public speakers that, in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. In the event we exceed 30 minutes of public comment, we will transition to a separate live recording session. Recorded comments will be distributed to the MTA board and posted to our board meeting webpage and YouTube channel. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. The first speaker will be Jason Anthony, followed by Chris Greif.
Thank you, Ruby, and good morning, everybody. This is Anthony, the Transit Guru. Once again, thank you for being in my living borough, that is Brooklyn. One couple of things that I want to mention is that the Fair Height proposal, even though that we have to live with it, because that is part of life, one of the things that we have to incentivize the riding public is to register their Omni cards on the website, because that is one of the things that me personally have noticed that at least I have done on my personal YouTube channel, that I have received questions and concerns from, let's say, over 20 people that they're not registering their Omni card. And why is that? Because the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, better known as the MTA, has not incentivized riders to register their Omni cards, not like CTA in Chicago and LA Metro. So we should do a better work incentivizing people to register their Omni card. And other than that, Chief, I hope that you could address the incident that involved 2 of your officers at Penn Station, that this incident doesn't happen again. And I hope that I could hear this month's report from President Demetrius Critchlow and from all the NUC's
Please
presidents.
conclude your remarks.
So that's all I have for this month. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Greif, followed by Anna Humphrey.
Sorry to have to let Q go through. Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher T. Greif. One thing I just want to thank NYPD for a lot of things, because there was a couple of things we have seen people not just sleeping on the train, but catching some of them who are surfing, thinking it's a Surfing USA kind. And I do want to thank you, and I do like seeing those drones on the Brighton line. So the community is very pleased. They're very impressed because they want more of those. But at the same time, as we are going to discuss about the fare proposal, I just think that in a good way is we need to encourage more outreaching on this because not everyone in the senior and disabled are fully understanding, and not just in English, but in other languages, Spanish, Asian communities. Some of them maybe understand, but they're always getting the wrong information from something outside. But I just think we just need to work together and get the information out for the future, because a lot of people like who uses the reduced fare Omni is saving money, because if you start a certain amount, like you normally put in a monthly, like a 66, and you don't realize you're saving a lot. And I just hope in the more future we can encourage this more, because what I'm seeing is someone else are understanding, but there still needs to be more education going out, how to use the Omni account, the Omni card. And it is very difficult with the credit cards, because we are seeing some of the buses and some subway stations, the thing will say, please do it again and again. If something needs to be cleaned, if it's going to be clean and wiped, it should use a cloth, not a paper towel, because that's how the fogs come in, and it does mess up the readers. So I'm just asking if we can continue working together and getting more accessibility information, which is out there, but needs to be more. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Anna Humphrey, followed by Kara Girl.
Good morning, I'm Anna Humphrey, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Center for Independence of the Disabled, New York. Access-ride users are constantly being forced to wait hours on end for rides to show, or being left stranded on the curb only to be penalized and marked as a no-show when they were waiting at their pickup location all along. We've heard stories from riders who have experienced anxiety leading up to their scheduled trip because things too often go wrong. No one should have to feel this way when traveling in New York City, which is considered to have one of the best public transportation systems of any city in the country. The MTA can, and traveling in New York City, which is considered to have one of the best public transportation systems of any city in the country. The MTA can and must do better for riders with disabilities. Further, any driver that is contracted with the MTA needs to be adequately trained in disability etiquette. We cannot have drivers that are rude, impatient, or unwilling to communicate respectfully with disabled riders. On top of that, some drivers are not able to communicate in English, which makes it even harder for riders, especially those with vision impairments or other specific disabilities, to feel safe and confident that they will be taken to their correct destination. Access-ride drivers have more responsibility than an inaccessible Uber driver or taxi driver, and they must be trained as such. Riders who make complaints about these negative run-ins with drivers need to be sufficiently notified of the disciplinary action and updated training provided. If the MTA wants to improve service, they don't just need to encourage riders to make complaints. They need to ensure that drivers are being held accountable when they're not fulfilling their job responsibilities. Sydney asks that the MTA continue to provide comprehensive training to its access-ride drivers, respond to all rider complaints with action steps taken, and work to improve the efficiency of service so it's truly comparable to other New York City public transit as required by the ADA. Finally, we need clarity for day programs for people with disabilities that utilize the paper access-ride vouchers for their members, and whether they will still be able to continue to use those for people who cannot use Omni. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kara Girl, followed by Omar Vera.
Good morning. I'm Kara Girl, Planning and Advocacy Manager at the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. Nearly a month into the full implementation of the Queens Bus Network redesign, we're glad, but not surprised, that things are working smoothly. This generational upgrade to the Queens Bus Network and $35 million in new operating funding was sorely needed, and it's great to see that many of the common sense improvements, like balancing stop spacing, streamlining routes, and creating new rush routes, are helping riders already. The PCAC team was out at bus stops around Queens as ambassadors for both phases of the redesign. We were glad to see such a robust, in-person program informing riders about changes. It's clear that the best way to tell riders that the commutes are changing is by meeting them where they already are, at their bus stops and in their neighborhoods. But the MTA can't improve the bus network alone. New York City DOT has a major role to play in upgrading our buses. We're very happy that construction on the upgraded Flatbush Avenue began last week with center-running bus lanes, reduced traffic lanes, and bus boarding islands. This is a big step in the right direction towards true BRT in New York City, and we encourage the city and MTA to work together to upgrade street-level infrastructure around the 5 boroughs that will speed up buses. Our report released earlier this summer, BRT for the Boroughs, outlines even more improvements that can be made on Flatbush and around the 5 boroughs, but only with the city's direct involvement. We're also calling on the city to expand the Fair Fares program to at least 200% of the federal poverty level and to the railroads within the city so that 450,000 more New Yorkers can afford transit. Currently, minimum wage workers earn too much to qualify, and that needs to change. Especially as we approach a new mayoral administration, the time has never been better to make major upgrades to the city's transit commitments and opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Omar Vera, followed by Iris Kelly.
Good morning, MTA Transit and Bus Committee. It's interesting that you decided to schedule the September meeting here in downtown Brooklyn rather than the MTA headquarters in Lower Manhattan. But hey, it's fine. That's why we have so many facilities. Starters, let me just say, finally, the R211S has been fully implemented on the Staten Island Railway, and now it is 100% NTT, new technology. Trying. Congratulations on that. And it's also working out smoothly on the B line once the other lines, the A, the C, the Rockport Park Shuttle, and the G start having theirs. Like I said, R211 is the way to the future. And thanks for that. And like I reiterate what I said earlier regarding the Queens bus redesign. You should at least have at least one direct Bronx to LaGuardia Airport bus, but we can work on that on a later day. And finally, last but not least, I started noticing the MetroCard phase out for Omni, and my home station, 181st Street, has recently removed its last two MetroCard vending machines. But I'm just hoping that there'll be more Omni like card vending machines there in this place, because the Omni vending machines are smaller than the in size than the old MetroCard vending machines that they replaced. But still, like I said, consider implementing the 7-day unlimited and 30-day unlimited Omni cards in the near future, because that would be needed. Other than that, thanks a lot, and see y'all in October.
Our next speaker is Iris Kelly, followed by Joe Rappaport.
As I'm just informed that they may possibly cancel out these voucher tickets. They really shouldn't do it because it helps people, especially even working people, help save money on taxes. I mean, much easier. Because I know use it all the time. I don't like the Omni. I rather prefer use paper tickets or Metro cards. Is much easier for me. It's so much easier for people too. They like it. Not everybody likes the Omni, but definitely the voucher tickets are very important because it helps them have something for cash when you're in the morning going to work and getting things ready. I hope you understand that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Joe Rappaport, followed by Michael Ring.
Good morning. I'm Joe Rappaport from the Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled. Welcome to Brooklyn. If you took the subway here, you'll notice that at least some of the stations in this neighborhood are actually accessible with elevators. Though if you took the 4 or 5 from Manhattan, you would still be out of luck for another few years. Whenever I meet people who ask about my work at the Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled, they tell me they know the MTA is putting in new elevators and making more stations accessible. And I say, yes, the MTA is doing that, and it's real progress. Now, I have to admit, I do mention that you had to be sued to make that happen, but you get credit for moving ahead with those projects. But then they follow up, unprompted, by telling me about their bad experiences with subway elevators. They're out of service, or dirty, or even worse. And I tell them, well, we're trying to get the MTA to fix that too. And once again, I mentioned our lawsuit about this, which we haven't been able to settle for the last 8+ years. Now, I understand Chairman Lieber now may have more perspective on the need for elevators. If he used the subway elevators during this time, I hope they worked for him, because it is a pain going up those steps. And for some people, obviously, it's impossible. And I hope it gave him some perspective on why it's so crucial to keep subway elevators in working order and clean, and why up-to-date information about whether they're working, even when you're in your subway car, is so crucial. Those are the simple demands we've made in our lawsuit, It's time to meet those demands and settle with us. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michael Ring, followed by Stephen Cruz.
Good morning. My name is Michael Ring. A short visual description would be that I'm wearing a green hat that says Disabled in Action. I'm also wearing a black t-shirt that says DIA, and if you're a real transit nerd, you might know what that stands for. And I'd like to also welcome everyone to Brooklyn, and I'd also like to talk about elevators. This morning when you walked in, you might have seen a bunch of us protesting outside. We'd like to see you settle the case to get more working elevators, install them faster, keep them clean, keep them maintained. Let us know what happens when they break. Also, on the other hand, I'm chair of the Accessible Transit Advisory Committee. Sometimes I get invited to the ribbon cuttings and the groundbreakings when new elevators are being installed. Progress is being made. But I would just like to talk about the big picture. The meeting moved to this building today. You're working on your other conference room. And we didn't really have to worry about whether or not the elevator would be working. I mean, I didn't know that meeting would be on the ground floor, but it didn't matter. I was confident that I'd be able to get to the meeting room in this vertical city we live in. But we're not confident that we can get from point A to point B on the subway because there's not that many elevators, and we're not ever sure that they're going to work. And I just want to remind everyone here what the gold standard is. This kind of meeting, you go to work in a building that needs an elevator, you're confident it's going to work. If one is broken, another one's going to be there. Eventually, it would be great if the subway would be there. And now that I have 30 more seconds, I'd like to talk about that voucher program for Accessoride, the little paper slips. There's a lot of people who use them quite often. They're given to them so they can get free rides to different kinds of programs. There needs to be some clarity on how long that's going to last. It shouldn't really be phased away because not everyone wants to carry cash, and there's a lot of people who really can't use Omni or Metro cards, and this gets them out of their house. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Stephen Cruz, followed by David Kupferberg.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Cruz. I'm over here to let y'all know that some people were disabled arrived were accessorized. And most of the drivers, especially like in my situation, I live in the higher floor. And they told me, oh, I'm outside, I'll go down. As soon as I go down, they're not there. So when I called to the base, oh, they were like, oh, they left and everything. Most of the thing that they said, give them 5 minutes to get down and all that thing. But they don't wait for 5 minutes. So I'm like, that's not fair, because people need to get set up and everything and so on. So what I'm trying to say is, Accessorized should get in contact with those bases, not with the drivers, with the bases, to let them know that we are here to get service with the Accessorized. So I would love to get that situation set up, because not everybody is the same. Some people live in the higher floor. Some people need help with home attendants, whatever, you know. So if it's possible, you could help us with that situation. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is David Kupferberg, followed by Monica Bartley.
Good morning, David Kupferberg, member of Passengers United. One of the main concerns for the FM swap is route consistency, but that consistency has led to delays. The FM swap would give local riders along the Queens Boulevard line a relatively better trip. The BX6 SBS, as part of the Bronx Bus Network redesign, was to divert from Hunts Point to Soundview. The MTA decided to delay its implementation to a time after MetroCard would be retired. This means that the BX6 SBS to Soundview could be implemented as early as the winter pick, should the riding public be concerned. The Q27 bus stop on Springfield Boulevard at Amboy Lane in front of the Queens Village Long Island Railroad Station was eliminated on June 29th. It was recently reinstated. I still think that to impose most European standards in New York City is foolish and short-sighted. I hope that the MTA has learned the lesson that the people of New York City, like Philadelphia, care about passenger travel time, not bus speed. The MTA would eliminate the 30-day unlimited. Shame on the MTA. The MTA would force the riding public toward the 7-day rolling fare cap at $35. This effectively reduces the time from 30 days to 28 days. Shame on the MTA. Let's do the math. The price for the 30-day unlimited is $132. The fare for 28 days would be $150, an increase of approximately 13.64%. Shame on the MTA. The MTA would no longer accept coins on buses, making it harder for seniors. Shame on the MTA. The Title VI report fails to detail what I had mentioned. Shame on the MTA. So if the MTA continues to claim that there will be no disparate impact or disproportionate burden on minority and low-income riders, don't you believe it? Shame on the MTA. Shame on the MTA. Shame on the MTA.
Our next speaker is Monica Bartley, followed by Jean Ryan.
Good morning. My name is Monica Bartley, and I am a member of Disabled in Action and a longtime user of Access-A-Ride. Over the past few weeks, I've been experiencing serious issues with Access-A-Ride that have significantly impacted my daily life. At least once a week, sometimes more, I face situations where my scheduled pickup arrives over an hour late. The delay isn't just an inconvenience. It disrupts my medical appointments, community engagements, and personal commitments. It creates anxiety and makes it difficult to plan my day with any confidence. In an effort to avoid being late for important appointments, I've resorted to booking my trips 1 to 2 hours earlier than needed. While this may reduce the risk of arriving late, it's far from an ideal solution. This approach forces me to spend an excessive amount of time in transit or waiting, which is physically draining and mentally exhausting. More importantly, it reflects a system that is not meeting the basic reliability standards that riders like myself depend on. These delays are not isolated events. They represent a consistent pattern of service failure that is unacceptable for a transit system meant to provide equitable access. As a wheelchair user, I rely on Access-A-Ride not just for mobility, but for dignity and independence. I urge the agency to seriously address these ongoing issues and to prioritize timely and respectful service for all riders. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jean Ryan, followed by Elizabeth Abraham.
I'm Jean Ryan, President of Disabled in Action of Metropolitan New York, DIA for short. This year I'm testifying about the express bus and how it really is not accessible to wheelchair and walker users or even people with a mobility disability, whether permanent or temporary. If you need the lift, you are hoping you can get onto and off the bus at all and in a timely manner. From what I hear and have experienced, the Ulmer Park Depot, year after year, generally has been the worst with express bus lift training for drivers. Ulmer Park's drivers and buses are the ones I have to take. We need a different bus design with a low-floor ramp, which will eliminate the complicated lift in the seats that need to be moved. Transit's perennial promises to train the drivers better never pans out because untrained drivers fill in for each other. On Saturday, September 20th, I decided to take my chances getting home by express bus. I waited until the X27, number 2412 bus approached the bus stop on 5th Avenue and 40th Street in Manhattan, where I was waiting right by the bus pole with my hand out in the universal hailing signal. The bus pulled over kind of near the curb. Yay! I expected the driver to move the seats and then come out and operate the lift, but no, it was not to be. The driver just drove off without me. Did the driver think that they would leave me so that they would not have to call for directions on how to move the seats and operate the lift? Whatever the reason, I got left at the curb and had to take a different way home. And the last thing I want to mention is there are no accessible bathrooms for us to use in this building that we know of. And people were telling us they're accessible, but they're not. So this has to be remedied if we're having public meetings in this building. Thank
Please
you.
conclude your remarks.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Elizabeth Abraham, followed by Alita Dupree.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Abraham. I'm a little bit nervous because what I'm doing is very something special for a lot, even though I do love Accessorite. But, however, I mentioned to you before, remember that I presented an idea to you like this, which is translation English and Spanish in different languages. Why? Because you presented afterward, when I presented the idea, you presented what they call digital assistance translation. And that was a great idea. That's great, 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 but something is missing. Something is missing where people learn different ways. People like to see, touch, etc. And I know we're having many, many more drivers are coming. And I connected with the councilwoman and also from the head of transportation for the men, but the issue of the digital translation, something is missing. So what I presented before, and I repeat again, is where you have languages, English and Spanish, for example, hola, buen dia, good morning, ¿cómo está, how are you? Why? Because New York has become a multicultural community. But the proposal I was going to put to come back is that I think we need to have like a little book with a driver, basic, for example, hello, good morning, this is Elizabeth, hello, this is Accessorite. We're downstairs, located at 630 Athletics Avenue. We're waiting for you. Are you coming down, please? The driver is more, hello. So because of that reason, I think the idea of having a little thing is not expensive, and you can show this in different languages where people take a moment and have the socialization. So we're in New York City, so people would be pride to learn the basic words that are used in a particular language, working for Accessorite. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alita Dupree, followed by Evan Yankee.
Thank you. Good morning to the chair. Alita Dupree for the record, she and her with Team Folds. Not sure how this Zoom works here. I'm not seeing a clock. Anyway, I talked to you about transit from my temporary residence in Oakland, as I am away for various commemorative holidays. A bit of housekeeping. Second Avenue subway meeting recently. The Zoom codes never made it in emails, so I guess those of us on Zoom never got to share. So let's work with our district secretary in ensuring that the Zoom codes get out and test that before the meeting starts. In reading the reports, ridership seems to be doing okay on the subway. 101 million people in the most recent reported month. That's good. Not sure where we stand in relation to the pre-pandemic ridership. I'd like for us to get that back. I believe there are many reasons for people to use the subway. And on my last trip, I did use the elevators a little bit. They worked. I really appreciate the messaging that you're doing with elevators, because I know that when I use the subway, that I am welcome to use the elevators. That the elevators are truly for everybody. And so I'm spreading that messaging to other systems that I know that where they can too practice the same welcome that you're doing in the subway, that I can use whatever facilities I need to be able to navigate my day. I'm looking forward to the changes in Omni. And I did write you a letter about the fare proposals. I think they're reasonable. Certainly work for me, and I think you've answered my concerns as a person with disabilities. And so I did write you a two-part letter, which I had to divide into two parts
Please
because
conclude
there
your
were some
remarks.
issues with. Okay, thank you, appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Our next speaker is Evan Yankee, followed by Monique Johnson.
Morning. My name is Evan Yankee, and I am the Advocacy Director for Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled. We're here today to talk about data channels for Access-Ride paratransit service. The MTA wants to know more about its services and operations, its customers, and what is going on in its system. We, the disability community, do too. Having a lot of data can occasionally be useful for knowing more about a system, but it also brings concerns about data blindness, where having too much data available makes it more difficult to know what is actually happening, in this case with Access-Ride. There are 3 broken data channels for Access-Ride service: complaint systems, customer service surveys, and MTA app usage. When we talk to groups of Access-Ride users in the community, most of them have given up on making complaints through official channels. Not every system can resolve every complaint, but a system can offer transparency for complaints and evidence of impact. And the lack of this in the current system is working against participation that is representative of the entire user base. Survey data is even more broken. Participation seems to be largely electronic, and electronic data collection through email and websites are often inaccessible to a lot of Access-Ride users, including the users who are likely to have worse experiences. The result is a data set that purports to tell us about a user base when it really tells us about the most online portion of a user base. The third broken channel is MTA app usage. It seems clear to us that the MTA is trying to shift its customers to app usage in all areas, but people with disabilities and older adults who cannot and will not use apps end up holding on to older systems, participating through third parties, or finding unconventional workarounds that make their participation even less visible. Disability means difference, and to data scientists, that's why our experiences are valuable, because without them, the data and models you see and create are reflective of the middle instead of the edges. Please work with us to fix your data channels and let us all see a truer picture of
Please
what is
conclude your
happening in your
remarks.
systems so we can all.
Please conclude your remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Monique Johnson.
Good morning. I'm Monique Johnson. The reason why I wanted to speak today is because Access-Ride. For somehow, they could take me to a destination, but they don't know how to pick me up from that same destination. I've been having bad anxiety lately since I've been taking Access-Ride. And the reason are these. They sit around, they watch YouTube, they do FaceTime, all of that while they're driving us. You might can't see it, but I have mad videos of them watching on FaceTime, watching YouTube as they driving us, and they think it's okay. A bike could cut in front of them, a bus could stop short, a car could cut in front of them. Where that leaves us, we are already disabled. I don't want to be any more disabled, and it gives me bad anxiety when I feel like I have to take a car that I can't trust to take me to my destination, for the simple fact that they think it's okay to watch YouTube and be on FaceTime with their wives or their husband. If you can't text and drive, you shouldn't be able to be on FaceTime or watch YouTube while you're driving, because you could cause an accident and no telling who pays for the accident. Most likely it's never the driver. It's always the other person. And I don't want to be any more injured than when I already am. So I appreciate if you all look into these brokers and find out why they feel it's okay to watch YouTube and be on FaceTime when they're driving us. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have reached the allotted time for this public comment session. At this time, we ask the remaining registered speakers to stand by as we transition to a separate live recording session. If you're a remote speaker participating on Zoom, please stand by and wait for further instructions from the moderator. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you to all our public speakers. We move on. I will now make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 2025 meeting. Andrew? David, second by JR. All those in favor? Against? Abstention, motion passed. Demetrius, are there any changes to the work plan?
No changes.
Okay. You want to start us off with the president's report, please?
Sure, thank you, Ada. I hope everyone had a wonderful summer. I can tell you I am excited to be here, excited to be back, talk about some of the things that we have going on in New York City Transit since we last met. We have been extremely busy, and we'll talk about a few of those things. Before we get into the business of this community, this committee, I hope you'll indulge me for a few minutes of your time just to share an important story. Every September, it's important for us to take a pause to remember those that were lost for September 11th. And the stories of bravery, perseverance, and those who answered the call to help on that day. This year, I had the privilege of addressing some of the members of the NYPD Transit Bureau District 4 at their annual ceremony honoring those lost at 9/11, two of which were assigned to their precinct. It was really genuinely an honor to be able to speak to them, but also their families, families of the lost. These officers continue to do amazing work to keep the system safe and acknowledge the sacrifices that their work calls for. It is a self-sacrificing job, and I can tell you I'm grateful to the Chief Galata and his team for what they do. Recently, my friend Joe Nugent, I don't know, he's somewhere around here.
He was in the hallway.
Joe shared a story with me of two New York City Transit workers that you see in the photos here. It's an important story because it shares the history of transit and their contributions to 9/11, contributions to the city. Structure maintainer William Johnston, who we'll refer to as Billy on the left, he started working within maintenance of way in 1996. 1996, following in the steps of his father. His father was also William Johnston. So we got William and Billy, also William, but we're going to call him Billy. William started back in 1979. In 2000, Billy left transit to go join FDNY, and he responded to the World Trade Center in 2001, September 11th. He was one of the 343 firefighters who lost their lives on that day. Now, following 9/11, there was a whole host of work that went into trying to nail down some of the areas that we needed hardening in the system. One of the areas that we determined needed hardening was the emergency exit hatches for our under-river tunnels. Now, up until this time, they used to use a triangle key that would gain access to the system. You could generally use pliers to open them. But Superintendent Johnson, the father, created a key, designed the key himself, that made it difficult to break into, so that the keys themselves were designed in-house by this individual in memory of his son. So even to this day, the lock itself is called the Johnson lock. The tool that's required in order to open the emergency exit hatch is called the Billy bar. So you have the Billy bar and the Johnson lock, both in honor of the loss of the structure maintainer, Billy Johnson. Many people in this room, I'm sure, have lost someone or someone, family, friend, close to them at 9/11. I can tell you I did. This story is of one unsung hero, and I'm hoping that by sharing these stories, we get to remember not only that what was lost on that day, but also what was gained. The many stories of people who are here today as a result of those brave people, the brave souls who went in and sacrificed everything for us. So really grateful for those individuals, what they've done, what they continue to do, and thank you for gracing me with your time for a couple of minutes just to chat about that. It's important.
Nice story, very nice story.
So for service, as anticipated, it's been a busy summer. New York City Transit's been on the move constantly. The summer we saw historic performance records, new programs being launched, and one big service improvement being implemented. Plus, we're seeing very encouraging crime statistics each week. Now, you can't have great service without safe service. And for August, major felonies were down 22% in comparison to August of 2024, which is really incredible. Hats off to Chief Galata and his team for all of their work in the system. Now, any crime committed in the system is one too many, but seeing positive trends downward for the summer is a great headed to the right direction. Again, thanks to Chief for all of his work. They really are committed to making this system safer. We'll hear more about that shortly. Now let's talk about service on subways. In May this year, we broke on-time performance at 85.2%. Broke the record in May. In August, we did it again, same thing. Subway performance in August was 85.1%. Outside of COVID, that's the best August performance we've had in 10 years. Overall, summer on-time performance on the subways was 84.3%, up from 2024 and from 2023. Now, if you just relied on the news, clearly you would have a different impression of what reality is. But the difference is we are here to talk about the real numbers and how service is actually running. It is better. Over the last several years, thanks to the support of our partners in Albany, we've dramatically increased the service that we provide. So running better service, but more service is the key, often overlooked. The on-time performance statistics validate the fact that the team is really engaged to be able to deliver the best service possible. One way that we followed through on our mission was when earlier this month, we announced that we were celebrating the introduction of the last R211S into service on the Staten Island Railway. This was a long time coming. These cars were 50 years old, ancient by most standards, and the oldest cars that we had in our system that were in customer service. And yet they still maintained great on-time performance. So a real testament to employees that work there. But now these new cars will be more reliable and more smooth and durable trips and have accessibility features that are to die for. Not literally.
No, I was gonna say.
Congratulations to the team for making it happen. It's a generational achievement, and for the borough, which will lead better service and the customers and success to our employees. West 4th Street. Now we know that there were also some challenges over the summer. Intense heat and rain continued to strain our system for years to come as the impacts of climate change continue to get worse. First, I want to give a special thanks to the teams who worked tirelessly when we had the West 4th Street power outage. The weather was unbearably hot that week, but we still had subway crews down into the relay rooms working to restore power to signals as soon as possible. That picture on the left is me in the room, and I could tell you it was hot. Boy, it was hot. Hot. I went to the platform in order to get a cool breeze because it was hot. So in order to get a transformer down to the relay room, I saw 7 to 8 large guys pick up this huge transformer, lug it to the tracks in order to be able to get it to the relay room, again in the heat. Most people just don't realize how much work goes into restoring service when we have a major outage like this. So hats off to the guys who did that. I watched from a distance and was very impressed by their strength. These power outages are the most significant events that have impacted us over the summer, and that's exactly why we need to continue to push in completing for the funding, using the funding for the 2025 to 2029 capital program, so we can make the necessary investments in state of good repair work, fixing the 50-year-old electrical equipment, and also even older signal equipment that we have. I always ask people, when you think about it, what is it that you have in your house or that you drive that's 50 years old or older? Most can't name one thing. that's the reality. Nothing really remains for 50 years. Yet, in this system where we take 5, 6 million customers every day, it continues to operate with some of the most amazing maintenance folks that you would even imagine. So, we also had on the bus side, we finally got to the place where we rolled out the Queens bus network redesign. We've been talking about this implementation for a while. The entire year we've been talking to customers out there, engaging folks, and we finally did it on August 31st. We successfully implemented phase 2. Now, when you talk about changing how we do things as an organization, being out there, engaging directly with customers was the way that we really tried to make this a success. We had over 700 employees that offered their time to be there to engage. These aren't employees, these aren't people that were hired on specific. They had jobs already. They left their own jobs, whether it's in 2 Broadway, or this very building at Livingston, offered their time to come in on days that they didn't work, to come in after their tours, to come in before their tours, in order to provide customer service for this redesign. 700 employees, covered roughly 3,000 shifts to be able to be out there for customers. So great work by that team. It was a pretty special event. Being out there at 21st Street with the chair, elected officials, you could see that the team was really excited to be out there talking to customers. And customers, they knew about it, which means that we had really hit the right mark, a sweet spot in terms of being out there and greeting them. There's still time for data collection through the process for us to be able to get to where we're comfortable with everything that was done, but I could share a few early promising indicators at a borough-wide level. First thing, rush routes, 7% faster than predecessors. Now, I could tell you, if you ever spoke to me outside of here, I love the rush routes. They're like fantastic. For customers that live a little further away from our system, being able to have a bus that goes directly, makes a few stops and goes directly to the subway is just a fantastic ad for customers. It takes a lot of time off. And so happy that that's making a great impact. In the first week of rolling out the rush routes, it benefited over 1 million trips. Over 1 million trips were benefited in 1 week. So, when you talk about the work that we do and the value that we add to the system, value that we add to the community, this is it. I mean, it has a direct impact on how customers see what we do and how we do it. The other thing is we added, I remember it was $30 million worth of investments in additional service add, changes in the system. And even though we added additional service delivery remained constant, right? So even though we've added more routes, it goes to show that with proper planning, the time that we could put into planning and proper funding, we can scale to meet the needs of New Yorkers. Now, one thing key, most people don't know is that we don't just do this in a vacuum and then say, okay, we're done, we're not gonna look at this again. We will release a 6-month post-implementation evaluation report where we'll share with the public a comprehensive overview of everything we are seeing with the new network, from speeds to ridership. Also, I wanted to highlight that this new network comes at a time when we're welcoming a new acting senior vice president for the Department of Buses, Frank Farrell. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Frank, but before I do so, I need to talk a little bit about Chris Pangilian. He's filled in this role as the acting senior vice president of buses following Frank Annacaro. And, man, Frank, Chris has been amazing. He's been in the organization 3+ years. It's his last board meeting here with us. And so he will be departing the organization. I believe that one of the great signs of a great leader isn't just the accomplishment made during your time at the helm, but also seeing the success of the group, the organization, continue after you're gone. And it may be a little cliche, but leaving something better than what you had when you got there, setting you up for continued growth and development. Chris started as a principal planner back in 2014. After some years, he left, came back as the vice president of paratransit in 2022, and that was during a time when MTA was still trying to find its footing after the pandemic. You know, so many changes. Accessibility was a key priority for us. So the organization had a lot of growth, opportunities for growth, and a lot of change was made in that period. If you don't know how much accessibility has changed over the last couple of years, I don't know what rock you've been under, but Rachel will share a lot of the changes later. But paratransit has really flourished in that period. Soaring ridership month after month and continued customer feedback on how well they are benefiting from the service. And so hats off to the team. Don't want to overlook that. Chris went on then to lead as the head of operations planning, overseeing buses and subways before we drafted him into service as the acting head of buses. Chris was a major asset in this Queens Bus Network redesign. You know, his experience in working in operations planning, but also newfound experience in dealing with Department of Buses was just like key in trying to tie those two together to deliver the best service that we could with this Queens Bus Network redesign. So it's a bittersweet moment, but we're sad to see you go, Chris, but also wish you the best in your new endeavor. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your talent. And thank you for the time that you afforded us. Great work. You heard that. We put that on the record. A motion to deny. Without question, New York City Transit has benefited from you. And for that, we want to give you a plaque. Chris Pangolinan, Chief Operations Planning, thank you for your service and executive leadership, October 10, 2025, which is the date you'll be leaving. But thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Demetrius. Appreciate that.
Now, you know, it can't be all bad news. I want to take a moment to talk about the person who is coming in his stead, Frank Farrell. Forgive me. Frank Farrell. It's a lot of Franks.
I know.
It's a lot of Franks. Frank Farrell. You know, Frank Farrell is no stranger to New York City Transit. He started off in the organization, worked his way up, has a host of years and experience in this organization, has worked in signals and power, and worked as vice president of Staten Island Railway, has shown continually his leadership. And when we thought of someone, we started to say, well, who can we have? How can we have the best leader take over the position, which didn't necessarily have to have a bus background? Frank was at the top of the list. I can't tell you how much he is an executive, an amazing leader, and so I'm really, really excited for the work that you're going to do on the bus side with an amazing team that's out there. So thank you for joining us as well. And with that, I would turn it over to Bill to talk a little bit about subways.
Great. Thank you, Demetrius. So as President Critchlow said, we reached record levels of performance in August with 85.1% on-time performance. That was not only the best August in 10 years, it was only a tenth of a point short of the modern day record that we set in May of 2025. As we all know, the end of June and the month of July were challenging for the Department of Subways. We ran into several very difficult weather, heat, and service issues. The ability for the team to bounce back in August and deliver record performance is a sign that we have a really strong team and a really strong foundation of service behind us. And I'd really like to thank the team for all of their efforts. I think we see them when they're out there responding to an incident like West 4th Street, but there are tens of thousands of Subway's employees out there every day delivering great service. And the best days are the ones where you don't see the work they're doing because we're just delivering great service. In addition to the weekday performance, weekends were very strong, continues to be over 86%, and our customer journey time performance was 85.9%, which was within 1/10 of a point of the record high set earlier this year. As we go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about customer journey time performance. On-time performance measures whether a train gets from the beginning of its line to the end of the line within 5 minutes, which is important operationally, so we know that we can get the service moving, have the crews in place, and operate a strong service. But most riders don't ride from one end of the line to the other. So we have customer metrics on additional train time, additional platform time, and customer journey time performance that measure whether individual customer trips are happening timely. This has been a challenge for us because historically we didn't have a lot of data to work with. We knew if the train got to the end of the line on time or not, but what happened along the way was less clear. In the last 2 years, we've gotten access to that data and now can see station by station every stop that trains are making along the way. And we can tell where trains are sticking to schedule, where they're losing time, sometimes where they're getting ahead of schedule, and where the challenge points are in terms of areas with potential for delay. We have a couple of teams within Subways. One is the Performance Analysis Unit, which is charged with analyzing that data and understanding what we can do with it to understand and improve performance. And we have our Speed Unit, which I've spoken here at committee before about, which is charged with making service more reliable and faster throughout the system. And you'll see me out there with some members of the team last week down at 9th Street on the R line. This data has allowed us to start pilots on multiple lines. We've had some pilots on the J and the 6 line to improve schedules and schedule adherence that have improved service by 8 to 10 percentage points in a very short period of time. We also have a pilot on the R line where we're keeping the trains sticking closer to schedule. The R is a very long line running from Forest Hills to Bay Ridge. It has a lot of turnover. A lot of riders are taking it over a short distance to transfer to an express train for the rest of their ride. And it merges multiple times with other lines. So there's lots of opportunity for trains to fall out of schedule if a merge is even slightly off, or if you have a larger number of customers on board than usual, which extends the dwell time. By having our dispatchers pay attention to the performance of the trains en route, they can keep the service running more on time and reduce gaps that we were seeing in service in southern Brooklyn. Prior to the pilot, the R had one of the longest additional platform time measures, which means the amount of time customers are waiting for a train beyond the scheduled time. And most of that was due to long gaps in service in the area between Court Street and 95th Street in Brooklyn. By keeping the trains running on time through Manhattan and having the dispatchers intervene, we now have much more even service throughout southern Brooklyn, and we've reduced that additional waiting time by about 25%. There's a multi-prong approach here. One is the dispatchers acting to keep the trains on time. The other is making sure that we're working with our partners in operations planning to keep the schedules as accurate as possible, and working across teams. So we have service delivery, operations planning, performance analysis, and speed all working together to make sure that we're delivering the best service that we can. We're not going to stop at the R. We're continuing to look at other lines, use the data. We'll be talking about the FM swap later today, which is another good example of using data to drive a performance improvement. And we look forward to using this strategy to continue driving record on-time performance. Thank you. Okay. With that, I'll turn it over to Frank for buses.
Thank you. Good morning. I want to begin by thanking Demetrius for appointing me as the acting senior vice president of buses. It's a real honor to take on this responsibility. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge Chris Pangilinian for his many years of dedicated service, and in particular, his outstanding leadership over the past 6 months. His contributions have really set us up for continued success. Thank you. Turning to performance, August was a strong month for buses, showing continued improvements across the board. Service delivery came in at 93.6%. That's up 3.2% from last year and 1.7% from July. Customer journey time performance reached 71.8%, increase of over 2% from last year. Average bus speeds hit 8.4 miles per hour, the highest we've seen since January. In fact, AM peak speeds reached as high as 8.8 miles per hour. I'm also pleased to share some significant progress in Staten Island. August service delivered saw the highest improvement across all boroughs with a 10.6% year-over-year gain, driven largely by our local routes, which rose 14.2%. Preliminary data shows Staten Island achieved its highest level of service delivered in the first week of September, the best since 2019, and outperforming all other boroughs. These gains reflect a concentrated effort over the past several months, including revamping Staten Island's leadership to drive expanded oversight, quality assurance, and accountability, reestablishing and enforcing clear service standards, and strengthen our maintenance protocols. Together, these results show real progress in both reliability and efficiency. We'll continue pushing forward to sustain these gains and kudos to the bus team that did a great job, unbelievable on Staten Island, this achievement. September has been a busy month for buses. Echoing Demetrius, I'm proud to share that the Queens Network redesign has been fully implemented. It's an exciting milestone, and it's great to see this achievement. This was made possible through the strong collaboration and dedication from our partners at DOT, Operations Planning, our labor partners, and the incredible bus team. Most importantly, we want to extend our heartfelt thanks to the hundreds of customer ambassadors who are out in the field guiding and supporting our riders every step of the way. The ACE program expanded to 4 more routes, bringing the total to 43 routes, 1,200 buses, and 510 miles. It keeps bus lanes and bus stops clear, improving speed, safety, reliability, and accessibility for almost 800,000 daily riders. This month, we've managed through operational challenges during the UN General Assembly with all the street closures and frozen zones. We participated in the annual Transit Museum-led bus festival, highlighting our vintage fleet with the 1931 Betsy to our newest electric buses. And we held our annual bus rodeo this past weekend, celebrating employee skills, teamwork, pride, with hundreds of employees and their families participating. I'm incredibly proud of what the bus team has accomplished. Their dedication, professionalism, teamwork made all the difference, not only in delivering these major initiatives, but also in serving the 2.3 million New Yorkers who rely on us every day. That concludes the bus update for this month. Thank you.
Frank, can I ask a question? How are we doing with the fare evasion? And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. There's many efforts with the fare evasion. You know, we're constantly engaged with our operators regarding it and with our teams that are out there enforcing as well.
So I'll just add to that. The security team has really made significant reductions. I think the last number we put out was something like the 28% reduction in fare evasion from the work that was put in. On the bus side, which is different from subways, a little more challenging because buses are a lot more open. But we have a pretty interesting plan, as everyone knows, Omni will be rolling out, starting in the beginning of the year. And so we'll be moving to a different model of how we do fare evasion. So stand by, it'll be, we're pretty excited to start with proof of payment as opposed to what we're currently doing.
Sorry, Missouri.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Heda. I appreciate this update, and it sounds like you all did a lot of great work in Staten Island, so thank you for that. I'm looking at the mean distance between failure data for buses, and I saw that starting in maybe about May, or maybe April, it's really declined, although it started to come back up in August. So I'm just looking at data on our online portal, looking at May MBDF was 5,200, but then in July MBDF was 3,700. And why do we care about MBDF? Because it talks about the health of our maintenance and health of our fleet, right? Because ultimately it's about kind of the miles between breakdown, and I know you all know that much better than I. So just wanted to check in because specifically, I see the improvements in the Staten Island, but in the Bronx specifically, it's really declined. And so just wanted to get a sense of what's going on there.
So.
Is that a Chris
Please.
question? Is that
I'll just start and I'll pass it over to Frank. So coming from the subway side, we spent a whole lot of time just focused on what does it mean to deliver great customer service to overall to customers. A portion of that is our service delivery, how many trains we're running, the frequency of service, minimizing delays, the MDBF of the fleet. And so moving over to the role of president, we took a look at buses at large, and there were without question opportunities for improvement. The team, there's been a lot of change in the last couple months. And, with Chris at the helm, Frank at the helm, the two of them together, tag teaming, looking at leadership specifically. We've started a host of different initiatives just to focus on how do we do better maintenance. But what's interesting is that the service delivered is continuing to do better, right? And so it's not just about getting a bus out the door. It's keeping the bus there, right? Keeping the bus on the road. And so we really had a focused plan on how do we provide better service to customers. And so what he mentioned on the Staten Island side was a host of initiatives specifically to target improvement in Staten Island, and it shows that if we put the same efforts in throughout the system, which we just started a full reorganization of the Department of Buses, which was done last month, of the leadership team. Those are the type things that we need to do to get the team going. But I'll turn over to Frank to talk about some of the specifics that we've been doing to improve MDBF on buses.
Yes, and this is something we've focused on, and we've been looking at the best practices in our shops and in the depots. We've increased our managerial presence and having the managers on the shop floors, engaging with the personnel who are responsible for making repairs to the buses. We're really targeting, repeat failures, doing deep dives into these failures for preventative measures. And we're reviewing some of our training practices as well. But in the month of August, the MDBF came up 20% from July, so we are trending in the right direction now.
And I just wanted to call attention, so for the Bronx in particular, it just seemed like it was a lot worse than the others. And yes, I do agree that, it looks like August the numbers came up. Just wanted to highlight, what's going on with maybe, I just don't understand, BX M10, BX M6. And then in looking at the public data, I was also looking at BX20, BX39, BX5, BX23. I can send that to you. But that, even putting aside MBDF, it looked like it was operating at 70% of service delivered. So I just wanted to check in on those. And I know Lisa and I are very interested, so thank you.
So we'll definitely take the specifics. There's no question we accept the fact that we can do better, right? Mm-hmm. There's no question we listen to customers on a daily basis, and there are definitely areas that we have to do better. And so I could think of some in particular, but I can tell you the team is engaged in a way that they've never been before. The focus, between biweekly meetings, the executive team meeting with each of these folks, the team has been out there at the actual depots, bringing in the actual line managers that are managing service there. But I think the key element is, really holding people accountable to deliver service, making sure that they as managers know that that's their role. It's not just to get a bus out the door, but ultimately to provide better service for our customers. So happy to take the specifics. We could speak to you about those specific lines of things that we're doing a little more detail, but I can assure you that this trend in Staten Island, I'm very confident that we can see it in other boroughs as well.
Thank
I know we're out of sync here, but Andrew has a question.
Yes, this is for you, Frank. Have you noticed a discernible difference on bus routes equipped with ACE cameras versus those that are not?
I'd have to look into the data to see if, significantly if the time changes have changed, but I believe we have started to see improvements in those areas.
Yeah, so if you look at the actual speeds on the routes with ACE cameras, it's great. I mean, the buses have picked up, and the more we roll out ACE, the less we have issues with speed, the less collisions that we have, it's safer. So all in all, it is better service. But that just has to be coupled with how we provide better service as well. If you don't have the buses out there to provide the service, then ultimately you still have work to do, right? And so just acknowledging the fact that we have an aggressive plan to be able to improve performance, and there's definitely some opportunities for us to do better.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're moving on to Rachel now, Paratransit.
Great, thank you, Ada, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm happy to continue on the themes from my colleagues Bill and Frank. We just wrapped up what was really an historic summer for paratransit, as both July and August saw record ridership with more than 950,000 trips completed in each of the summer months. So that means that Access-a-Ride this summer moved over 2.5 million riders, taking our customers to work, to school, to medical care, to see friends and family, and to all the summer activities that New York City has to offer. I'll echo something President Critchlow just said, which is that we know that there's always room to improve, right? And our speakers from the podium, we hear you, and we're looking into any of the individual issues that customers raised, but the numbers don't lie. And I'm particularly proud with our growing ridership that we've been able to sustain our new post-pandemic standards for service reliability. That means our 30-minute on-time performance for pickups across the system was above 97% in both July and August, and we were above 93% of trips picked up within our tighter 20-minute window. We continue monitoring and managing both our scheduled service routes and our call center to ensure we can deliver service as efficiently as possible, while continuing to deliver the reliability that our customers demand and deserve. And we have to say our customers are taking note. Our July and August monthly pulse surveys showed greater than 80% of customers satisfied with service, and even higher scores for the last trip taken. This is really a testament to the work of the entire paratransit team in Long Island City and our vendors and our partners across the city. And I want to conclude by saying on behalf of the entire paratransit team, thank you to Chris. You led this team through a challenging time, an incredible service turnaround. I've been honored to take the baton from you, and we'll really miss you as a colleague. I'll miss you as a mentor and a friend, but we're excited to see what you do next. So thank you.
Yes, Demetrius.
So just don't want to overlook something that Rachel covered. We sometimes we gloss over these stats a lot. The posted goal for being able to deliver services within a 30-minute window, and the team does an amazing job, as you can see. But that wasn't enough, right? They set the team. They dropped the goal from 30 minutes down to 20 minutes, and it is not a posted goal, but it's something that they hold themselves accountable to delivering for customers. And so that's what the system is all about, being able to drive for change even better than what we've committed to on paper, but to still be able to deliver. And so I just think that we should take a moment at the time to really acknowledge when the team is doing a really good job, and we don't want to gloss over it. I acknowledge the fact that Chris and Rachel, you've done a really great job in being able to deliver, and thank you for all of that.
Okay, ready, Bernard?
Yeah, that's a tough act to follow. Good morning, Madam Chair, Directors. Bernard Jackson, Chief Operating Officer. I get to build on some of the great news as it relates to ridership. Obviously, you heard during this presentation that New York City Transit has been delivering great service over the summer. Ridership numbers show us that New Yorkers continue to choose our system. Those increases can be attributed to multiple factors, which you've heard already from our operating departments. Strong summer numbers are typically associated with the robust tourism and the rise in discretionary trips in general. But I would be remiss if I didn't highlight two other items. First, Student Omni was available for the first time throughout the whole entire summer. Secondly, Student Omni was also expanded last year to be valid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with up to 4 rides per day. Improved fare compliance for both subway and buses also played a significant role in the ridership increases. On the subway side, we saw weekly paid ridership at 3.7 million in August. This represented an increase of 10%, a little over 10% over August of 2024. In fact, I want to point out that the week of 9/8 every day registered over 4 million subway rides. Incredible. And we just at the last week of September so far, so it'd be interesting to see how these numbers continue to grow. On the bus side, we saw paid weekly ridership at 1.3 million in August, which represented a 17% increase over 2024. Like you heard earlier from Rachel, August was an incredible month for paratransit, with ridership continuing to grow. I look forward to reporting out more good news about ridership next month. And to your question, Director, about the Bronx, we are laser focused on making sure that we bring down the MBD. In fact, I just visited a couple of Bronx depots over the weekend, spent some time out there making sure that the team is, like Frank mentioned, we're not seeing repeat performance, repeat buses that are causing issues to the system. And we're committed to making sure that not only the Bronx, but all of the boroughs are producing great ridership and great service for our customers. Thank you.
All good news. Any questions before we move on to Chief Galata? Andrew?
I have heard from many folks about the student Omni cards not being, being cardboard and twisting and breaking and not working. Are we going to be reissuing those in plastic so that they can continue to work for a whole year?
So we are well aware of the material that's used, and yeah, we have sent ample supplies to the school, so when they are damaged or get waterlogged, because my daughter is constantly, her water bottle is leaking. So, having that replaced, but long-term, we will look for more sustainable material as well as having it be available on students' cell phones.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to Chief Galata. Morning, Chief. Oh, good afternoon, Chief.
Good afternoon, Chairman Haltis and President Critchlow. President Critchlow, I got to tell you, you being out there for 9/11, you've been a great partner and a great friend to the NYPD, and it meant a lot for you to be out there with our members that day. So thank you for that. You have before you the crime figures for the month of August. Last month, the subway system saw 156 crimes, which reflects a 22% reduction compared to August of 2024. This reduction is largely driven by a decrease in both robberies and felony assaults. Look at the year so far, from January through the end of August, the subway system has seen a 3.8% reduction in crime, from 1,456 incidents last year to 1,400 incidents this year, which reflects a drop of 56 crimes. These are historical low crime numbers, as well as for this summer. Our officers work incredibly hard to not just catch the criminals who commit the major crimes, but to make our riders feel safe. This is done through precise and highly visible deployment. This meant putting more police officers on platforms and trains where 78% of the crimes occur. Another part of the strategy is taking a close look at rules violations, the type of offenses that are highly visible and truly impact the quality of a rider's journey and their perception of safety. As always, we remain committed to ensuring the safety and orderly subway system for all depend on it. It's been a true honor to be in this position, and as we rolled through the summer, it was one of the safest summers we had on record. We couldn't do that without the partnership of everyone in this room, so I want to thank you for that. Thank you.
So thank you, Chief. All good news for the last half hour of this committee, which is good. All right. Any questions for Chief Galata? If not, we move on. We're going to procurements. What are we doing? Oh, we have a special presentation before that on the F&M swap, right? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And I'm Chris Painley, currently advisor at New York City Transit, and I'm here. Right. Yes, exactly. I would be remiss not to take a moment to first thank you, Demetrius, for your kind words and your leadership during my time here. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and I think all of us who have worked with you know that how much we can grow professionally and personally under your leadership. And I want to thank you for holding us accountable and helping us excel here in our positions here. And I also want to extend that thanks to our Chief Operating Officer, Bernard Jackson. You've only been here for a few months, but your impact has been great, and you see this with the buses. The work that Frank Farrell did when I was there at buses, I'm not sure when he slept or didn't have his cell phone on him, but he was instrumental in making sure the Staten Island turnaround happened, and I am confident that he will bring those talents to the Bronx and the other boroughs as well as we make bus service really great across the city. So I'm also here now to talk about the FM swap, which is very exciting. I'm here with my colleague, Alan Foster. Alan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Foster, Director of Rail Network Planning.
Great. And Alan and I are here to talk to you about an exciting new service improvement on the subway that we have coming up in December, and it is called the FM swap. It is going to be our first redesign of the subway network since 2017 when the 2nd Avenue subway opened. It will be improving service and customer experience on 4 subway lines through increased reliability and shorter travel times. Now, if you look at the map on the screen, the highlighted area is where Alan and I will be focusing today. This will be the change on the tunnels crossing the East River between Queens and Manhattan, where the F and the M trains will be swapping the tunnels they use to cross the river. Now, this change will be limited just to this highlighted portion of the F and the M routes, but it will result in significant improvement on service along the E, F, M, and R trains. So Alan, do you want to walk us through some of the details here?
Yes, so this is a diagram of the current service pattern showing the Queens Boulevard line on the right and Manhattan on the left. And in between are the 3 East River tunnels that connect the two. And just zoom in a bit here. The area that where the issue is here in the Queens Plaza area. The operation here is fairly complex, which really limits the reliability on the E, F, M, and R lines. And to give you, sort of walk you through this, the F train, Queensbound F, operates through the 63rd Street Tunnel and then merges with the E train, while the Queensbound M train operates via the 53rd Street Tunnel, then has to cross from the express track to the local track and merge with the R train. Now, sometimes the M train is going to have to wait for an R train to pass before it can merge in. And then if you were on an E train behind that M train, you might get delayed too. Similar thing happens in the Manhattan-bound direction, where the M train has to cross from the local track to the express track and merge with the E in order to reach the 53rd Street Tunnel. If you're on an E train at Queens Plaza, you might have to wait there while an M train crosses in front of you, or vice versa. You might be on an M train and have to wait for an E train. So you can see how the way all of these lines are interconnected with one another really make this operation prone to delay, because a delay on one route can delay all 4 actually. So, as going back to what Bill was saying about data-driven service improvements, this is one of them. And operations planning and Department of Subways have partnered together to come up with a solution, which is to reroute the M train via 63rd Street and the F train via 53rd Street. And this will completely isolate local service from express service, so this will be much less prone to delays. And some of you may remember the 63rd Street track replacement project that we did a year or two ago, where we had to reroute F service via the 53rd Street line for 7 months. And this simplified the operation through Queens Plaza in much the same way the FM swap will. And during those 7 months, we found that travel times were more reliable, people's trips were faster, and peak hour on-time performance was better. So the data from that experience really convinced us that doing this swap would be beneficial for riders going forward. Now, this will be a weekday-only change. The M does not operate on Queens Boulevard nights and weekends, so during those times, the F will remain via 63rd Street. Those are also times when there are fewer trains operating through Queens Plaza, so the switching operations there are less problematic then. And the swap will affect service at just 8 stations. These 4 here, 5th Avenue, 53rd Street, Lexington, 53rd Street, Court Square, and Queens Plaza. They'll now be served on weekdays by the F rather than the M, and they will also continue to be served by the E. And then 57th Street, Lexington, 63rd Street, Roosevelt Island, and 21st Street, Queensbridge will now be served by the M rather than the F. I'll hand back to Chris.
Thank you, Alan. So as you can see in that diagram there, it really does simplify the routing structure at Queens Plaza, where the locals stay with the locals, the express stays with the express. And we'll be seeing a lot of broad-based benefits for customers when this happens. Number one will be increasing reliability and reduced delays for 1.2 million people who use the E, F, M, and R. And it's not just the ones crossing the East River, but as the benefits start there, they propagate throughout the entire system and benefit everybody. There will also be a net travel time savings for customers in the corridor. Crowding will be reduced at the 63rd Street stations, and it will provide direct service between the Queens Boulevard line local stations, as well as the 63rd Street line, as well as we'll be adding M service to reduce the wait times along the M. So the schedule going forward is in May, we began public outreach in earnest with elected officials, community boards, and affected stakeholders presenting here today in front of the committee. And we'll be doing, continuing to do intensive outreach as well as customer education as we get ready for rolling this out on December 8th. With that, we'll take any questions.
The only question Andrew, go ahead. Now, the question I just said to Demetrius, why didn't we think of this sooner?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. So when we implemented the F service via the 63rd Street line 24 years ago, that was based on the service pattern or ridership patterns at the time. And we had thought that this would better balance ridership between the F and the E trains. But it's proven to be very cumbersome to operate because of all those switching moves at Queens Plaza. And meanwhile, ridership patterns have changed. And so now looking at fresh data, and we have a lot more data at our fingertips than we used to have, we were able to conclude that actually made a lot of sense to swap this around the other way.
Great, thank you. Andrew?
Okay, I think this is a good idea, but my question is, since we don't have R211s on a lot of these lines, will this rely on the conductor to change the route maps and the automated announcements when all of a sudden it goes back to the other route after the M is no longer running?
Yes, the conductors will have to select the correct route program for the automated announcement system on the R160s. We'll work with service delivery to make sure they know which codes are for which routes and which ones they should use when.
Yeah, and Andrew, we'll also have all the signage will be clear, just like we have in other parts of the city where we might have different travel patterns at different times of day, to make sure customers are aware of the changes, as well as all the electronic information, whether it be on the app or on maps, will also be very clear too. So numerous ways to make sure customers understand the weekday service pattern and the weekend.
This is another good reason to have real-time maps on the trains and on the stations so that people can see when they're looking exactly what the service pattern is. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Demetrius?
Thanks. I just wanted to chime in for 1 second just to go back. One of the things that we said we're going to focus on from the beginning when I took over as president was safety and service, and targeting specific areas that we see hang-ups for service, little things that we could implement that could get you a couple seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, because the more time you can save, the better service you can run overall. Those seconds add up. The data we talked about earlier is really instrumental in being able to provide better service. So the better we are able to dig into the data, the better service that we can run. This is something that is long overdue. Customers will benefit. But we talked about it on a regular day, how this could be challenging to run this just on a daily basis. But when there are any delays, those changes that we talked about, those interlockings, make it even more challenging. Delays start to back up, it compounds, and then you cannot recover, which means you're running delays for a lot longer than what you could be if you had a straight system, a straight rail system. So This will bring better service to our customers, and it's looking at things like this that I'm really charging the team to continue to find those instances, find those opportunities to be able to provide better service. Whether it's on the rail, bus, or paratransit side, we owe it to our customers to be able to do this. So I'm so confident that we can continue if we just keep the same mindset and drilling down in the small issues.
I agree. Midori.
Demetrius, just want to endorse what you said, right? I really appreciate you all coming to the board with something like this. It shows in very simple ways, actually, so then the public can access it too, why we're doing what we're doing, but also focusing on what's best for customers. I applaud this FM swap. I know it is long overdue. I know people have talked about it for a while. That being said, please let us know how we can support in making sure more of these items can come. And we can help you kind of push for these things that can actually be a benefit to customers every day. So really applaud this work. Thank you. This is the kind of targeted effort that I love to see. So thank you very much.
Demetrius has one more thing.
And there aren't many opportunities that we can applaud doing a bus network redesign and a subway redesign in our system. So again, the team, just kudos for continuing to drive for better service, continuing to look for opportunities to make sure that we hit all the markers right. And I'm so confident that the future is going to continue to be great.
All right, that's good. We're moving on to procurements. Jeffrey Wright. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi. Good afternoon. The New York City Transit procurement package includes 2 items this month. The first is a request for the board to formally ratify the award of 2 modifications to contracts for automated camera enforcement system, also known as ACE, awarded under a continuing immediate operating need to 2 vendors, Modification 2 to Hayden AI, Inc., and Modification 1 to Sion USA Corp. Both awards include options to extend for up to 6 years beyond their expiration dates. Hayden and Sion were awarded contracts for the provision and operation of automated bus lane enforcement, or ABLE, systems in May of 2022 and April of 2024, respectively. Following legislative approval to monitor and ticket vehicles obstructing bus stops, as well as double-parked vehicles, the Department of Buses changed the name of the ABLE project to ACE. Hayden's contract was modified in April of 2024 to upgrade the system to ACE, which adds the enforcement of 2 new regulation types, bus stops and double-parked vehicles, and adds up to 1,000 additional systems for a total of up to 2,023 ACE systems. This modification is in the estimated amount of $218.6 million, bringing the total contract value to $301.7 million. Legislative approval of bike lane enforcement was subsequently received in early 2025, and approval of paratransit vehicle stop enforcement is anticipated later this year. Sion's contract which already includes up to 1,000 systems, was modified in May of 2025 to upgrade the system to ACE, which adds the enforcement of 4 new regulation types: bus stops, double-parked vehicles, bike lanes, and paratransit stops. This modification is in the estimated amount of $40.1 million, bringing the total contract value to $98.5 million. Procurement will negotiate with Hayden to add the enforcement of bike lanes and paratransit stops to their scope of work, and emphasis will be placed upon lowering Hayden's overall pricing, as life cycle costs will be a major factor in determining whose ACE systems will be installed on future buses. The second and final item is to request that the board formally ratify the award of a contract awarded under an ION to Rideco US Inc. A competitive RFP was conducted whereby 9 proposals were received and evaluated. Negotiations were conducted, and Rideco was selected for this award based on its technical strengths and favorable pricing. The estimated amount of this contract is $72 million. This award was made on August 18, 2025, with a base contract term of up to 102 months, which includes up to 18 months for system implementation and 7 years of operation and maintenance. Included in the contract is an option to extend the operation and maintenance period for up to 3 years, for which board approval will be sought. The new system will modernize and unify our technology system for greater efficiency across the operation and ensure our scheduling system is able to handle growing ridership. Additionally, it will introduce real-time optimization capabilities, which will enable immediate automated adjustments to paratransit trip schedules and routes in response to unexpected events, thereby improving service reliability and adapting to changes faster, so passengers experience fewer interruptions and more consistent service. I submit these procurements to the board for ratification.
Any questions about the first procurement? Andrew?
Hi. Just a quick factual question. You just said it's, the last one is for 72.9, and in the book it says 71.9. So just wondering which one is.
I'm sorry, I thought I said 72 million. It's 71.9 million.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Questions? Any other questions about Midori?
Hi, apologies because I may have asked this the last time in April 2024 for these cameras and the system. What percentage of this is operating dollars? Or is it all operating? Because I know some technology projects are seen as capital, so just wanted to check in on that.
I don't have an exact percentage, but the vast majority of it is operating. We used capital to purchase the actual cameras and have them installed on the vehicles.
This is the system that now is operating. Okay. And I know that this was procured under an ION. And so when does this contract expire?
So the current contract expires at the end of 2027.
Okay.
And
with the option years
and
in
then we have the
addition.
6 option years, which will come back to the board for approval prior
Okay.
to exercise.
And am I correct that the Sion contract is more about bike lane enforcement, or am I just not, did I not understand that correctly?
So the Sion contract has 5 enforcement types.
Yes, I see that now.
And the Hayden contract has 3 enforcement types. And that's simply because the Sion contract was updated after we gained the ability
After
to
legislation was
enforce
passed, probably.
the
I
additional
see.
things. So we'll be going
Okay.
back to Hayden to add the other 2 enforcement types.
So Jeff, was it done after before legislation was approved in Albany? Or
Right,
after
the
Right.
Hayden was
Got it.
Oh,
modified before the
Got it.
legislation was updated.
Got
Okay.
it.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Okay. And are there options? What happens if, legislature adds additional enforcement tools? We go back to Hayden and Sion and say,
We would have to go back
Okay.
and modify the contracts again to expand the scope.
right, but there's nothing in these current contracts to say it might happen.
No, we didn't pre-negotiate anything like
Right.
that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve both the procurements. JR, second. Midori, all those in favor? Against? Abstention? The procurement's passed. Any other business that we need to take care of today? All right, if not, Chris, we wish you the best of luck. I know this is the last committee meeting. I'm sure we'll do more kudos on tomorrow when your last board meeting, but best of luck with everything. And Frank, welcome to the well, you were part of the family, but welcome to the bus family. All right, everyone, thank you. Motion to adjourn, sorry. All those in favor, aye, against? All right, goodbye, thank you.